All right, I guess we can start now. Again, welcome everybody and thanks so much for joining our webinar for today. So entitled, as you can see from the slide, Empowering the Development of Autonomous Learner with MATRIX Skills Development. We're so excited to be with you here right now, and we're so thankful that for everybody who registered and signed up for this particular webinar, and we hope that it will be a fruitful one for everybody who's going to be attending. So to start off, let me just introduce myself and also my colleague. I'm MJ Ordoña, and I'm an ethics specialist for Cypher Learning here in Australia. I'll be one of your hosts, and also I'd like to introduce my colleague, Judith Taguman, ethics specialist in the Philippines for Cypher Learning as well. Hi, Judith.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi, MJ.
Hi. Okay, so what are we going to discuss in this webinar? So this webinar will focus on how we can continue to train and develop learning and development in terms of a different work model, which is the hybrid type of work model. And we'll also promote learning autonomy, and with the help of intelligent learning platform that is MATRIX LMS and skills development feature, we'll see how we can encourage learner autonomy with regards to self-paced learning. And also we'll be discussing, this is the breakdown of our agenda for today. So we'll be discussing hybrid work trends and how we can tackle them, and what are the advantages of hybrid work model, and how MATRIX LMS encourages learner autonomy in the new skills development feature. And at the end, we'll be giving you a preview on how MATRIX LMS skills development works. Okay, all right, now important announcement once again. So how you can obtain your certificate of participation. As you can see from our screen, we have a QR code. You can actually scan it right now. We'll give you a few seconds to scan it. If for those of you who haven't registered yet, especially those watching on Facebook Live, please scan this one and it will be directed to our registration link. And from there, you can register so that you can get the certificates. The certificate of attendance or participation will be given to you at the end of the webinar. So we're going to give you at least a few seconds to perhaps screenshot the QR code or just scan it right now. Okay. Do I need to count down? All right, I'll give you a few more seconds. Okay, now let's move forward. So we're going to have Q&A at the end of the session. So feel free to post your questions from the comment section below on your Facebook, or here in Zoom, you can put it on the comment section on Zoom as well for those who have registered on Zoom. All right, so I think we're ready. So let's get started. So it has been over 2 years since pandemic has shaken our world, and it has affected all sectors worldwide, and one of which is the workforce industry. In a way, it serves as a global wake-up call for organizations and business institutions, because it forces the organizations and company to change their strategy in the way that people can work. And today, post-pandemic, we can see that hybrid work model has become one of the mainstream for most, if not all, of the business and organization. So basically, what is hybrid work model? I know most of you might be aware of what it is, but just for the sake of this webinar, hybrid work model is a flexible working model approach. So basically, you have the flexibility to work on site or within your office location. And you also have an opportunity to work from home or remote at the comfort of your own home, or you're on a different place or location. So that's how it works. That's how hybrid work model is. So what are the benefits of the hybrid work model? So first, there are actually several benefits for hybrid work model, but we'll be discussing just the 4 of them. So first is it increased productivity and efficiency. because with flexible working hours, it's much more refreshing in terms of, in comparison with the traditional 9 to 5 type of work. So you have more flexibility. You can work and take ownership of and concentrate harder on the works that you have. So more productivity for you in the sense that you have a flexibility in terms of pacing your own work. So you have a better output and of course more productivity with regards to the task that's given to you. And another one is to reduce operating costs. So with less employee going or going to work or going on site, so the companies doesn't really require to hire or rent a bigger space or physical space. So it saves them costs in terms of real estate and also with the utilities and office supplies. Okay. And it also helps employees to save money. So employees who work hybrid, they have the opportunity to cut down commuting costs because they don't really work 100% all the time to commute to their office location. So the next one is it improves employee work-life balance. Who wants work-life balance? Of course, everybody wants work-life balance. So as according to the research, so work-life balance is improved with hybrid learning. So you can focus your time in doing your task at your own pace, just like what I mentioned earlier. So it gives you an opportunity to reconnect with your family, with your friends, and also it gives you your own well-deserved me time. Just like everyone else, we need a me time from time to time. And lastly, but not the least, redefines collaboration. So with regards to hybrid working, it redefines collaboration because nowadays you don't really need to brainstorm together with your teammate or your colleagues and peers in the same room. So you can work together from different location and do some conference and meeting with the use of modern technology. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. So what is the effect of hybrid workplace or in the learning and development? So in the side of learning and development, we've looked at Ken Blanchard 2022 HR and L&D trends survey. So we take a look at that, and there are 3 points that they have identified. And the first one is the respondents indicated that they feel overloaded and tired, so they're too busy to learn. And that is because they're too focused on getting their jobs done rather than participating in training. So in effect, they miss out opportunity for professional development. So the second one is the level of connection is dropping. So this is because the interpersonal connection and the bond are dropping as well. So in a way, it's a little bit related to the first one because there's less interaction, there's less time to interact because they have been prioritizing the need for finishing their work. And in effect, they also miss opportunity to create more cohesive and collaborative outputs. And lastly, L&D feels stretched. So they're not really satisfied with the converted offerings, and most of them are not happy with the effectiveness of the digital and virtual design. So there's one respondent that described it like, we would like to make online learning more engaging so that learners don't just click through it, which is, we understand that point, right? So in effect, they miss opportunity to allow active engagement in training courses and resources. Okay, so the Blanchard 2022 trend survey also featured some series of structured questions to tackle or to look into the ways on how L&D professionals were planning to improve their learning design. And there are, one of the questions that we're going to be discussing is, what would you spend your time and money on if given more L&D resources? So 47% says that they would convert their workshops into learning journeys. So learning journeys means, just like the name it implies, it's a journey to your learning. So you have the starting point, and then at some point you have waypoints along the way, and then your final destination or your end goal is also there. So that's how the learning journey works. And that's 47% of the L&D professionals would recommend that. And 39% would focus more on reinforcing learners holding accountable to their learning journey. So what this means is like taking the learners taking responsibility for their own learning, which is a good point as well. All right. So how can L&D units overcome these decaying trends and continue hybrid work model? So that's one of the big questions, because as you can see, from the benefits to the trends that has been surveyed amongst employees, there's like that bit of a gap or irony in terms of their answers as well. Excuse me. So here are 5 of the suggestions to curb the trend that is based from Microsoft Work Trend Index of 2022. So the first one is to create a plan to empower people from extreme flexibility. This means you can allow your team to strategize their work week based on when they are most productive, and be prepared to respond to sudden changes, provide clarity and guidance to your employees as well. Second is to invest in space and technology to bridge the physical and digital world. So think about bridging the gap between in-person and remote experiences by utilizing, of course, digital tools and technology. So you have to blur the lines between the physical and digital space by making common spaces that encourage interaction and community and collaboration amongst your peers. And the third one is to combat digital exhaustion from the top. So both Blanchard and Microsoft Trend Survey mentioned the employee exhaustion. So basically there is high productivity, but the employees are exhausted already from their work. They feel that they're overworked and burned out. So remember that less is more. So the leaders are encouraged to delegate your task efficiently and reduce the time in meetings. So not really reduce the meeting in itself, but keep the meeting short and on point. And then set boundaries as well. And one important thing is for you to encourage people to hit the pause button, because sometimes when we are working from our home, in the comfort of our home, we have a tendency to overwork ourselves because we're not aware of the time that we currently have. So you have to encourage your peers to press the off switch button or pause button for them to create a more space for breaks, and that would encourage creativity for them. And it also gives them time. It also gives time for the employees to learn and develop their skills, and which this one would help them stay proactive without the feeling of being overworked, something like that. So the fourth one is to prioritize building social capital and culture. So this one, for the leaders, they need to create a clear priorities to help the employees focus on what matters most. So giving them more time and energy to connect with each other and encourage a culture of inclusion. Also, connection needs to be more proactive. So update your collaboration spaces to better connect on-site and remote participants so that they won't feel left out. So no one would feel left out. And the fifth one and the last one is to rethink employee experience to compete for the best and most diverse talent. So this one involves HR and leaders should work hand in hand together to offer avenue for growth and development. So this will help increase engagement, empower employees, and at the same time elevate creativity and innovation. All right, so I'll give the floor now to Judith to discuss more about what is learner autonomy and how it helps with the hybrid work trends. Judith, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, MJ. So, we're not trying to paint the hybrid setup in a very negative way. The shift to this framework hasn't been easy, as MJ was able to show to everyone. Since we are now aware of these trends and the concept of learning, we need to discuss the concept of learner autonomy and how it can be helpful for training programs for businesses and corporations. So first, we have to ask ourselves, what is learner autonomy? Okay, I'll go back. Okay, so Oxford and Anderson state that learner autonomy is allowing learners to take control and responsibility for their own learning, both in way how they learn and what they learn. So the higher the autonomy is, the more independent the learner is. In training and development, this allows L&D units an offering of different resources, and one integral resource is the instructor slash facilitator. The instructor is readily available during set consultation hours to accommodate any interaction and dialogue with the learner. However, the learner is still in control of his or his or her own learning and does not let the instructor control how he or she is learning and interacting with the resources and the content. So we have to put into that mind that we're going to let our learners go. So when we go to our next slide, okay. So Keegan in 1996 stated that there are following principles if we were to encourage learner autonomy, which course developers and trainers should keep in mind. The very first one is learning should be self-paced, as it allows the learners to continue the learning process, even though professional and personal matters, which they are, interacting in their daily lives. Another point that we can consider as course developers and trainers should we should consider the individualized learning or individualized learning for everyone, whoever is going to be enrolling in our courses, as these we have, since we're going to be accommodating different learners who learn at different paces and they assimilate concepts and understand things differently from one another. We need to be ready and present different kinds of materials to accommodate those different kinds of learning. And lastly, the last principle by Keegan states that we should also remember that learners should have the freedom to select their personal goals and activities to accomplish the course. These principles encourage a higher learner autonomy for your learners in the L&D program. So when we look at it, we want to say that Cambridge has come up with several ways to encourage and to promote learner autonomy. And this is all learner centered. Okay, so the first tip is to align with the principle of allowing learners to select their own goals. As for their own learning, as it gives them direction and it pushes them to finish whatever they have selected. We also have to remember that learners begin to self monitor and they need to start regulating their own learning, which circles back to the first point or the first tip. If they can see their own progress, they will align themselves to the goals they have chosen for themselves. That's very important. Learners can choose the resources and materials which accommodate their learning style. So, for example, if you have learners who are very engaged, like visually, like they like videos and the like, you can offer not only written text or external links or images, but how-to videos in order for them to develop the skills that they need. And then lastly, we allow learners to contribute to the ideas, creating a more engaging environment. So tools such as discussion forums, debates, and collaborative activities are resources and venues for engagement. So I'm going to go back one slide because I apparently missed it. So we can discuss a little bit more about learner autonomy. If I can go back. Hmm. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go back just a little bit. Um, so there are benefits. That's not going back. Hold on. Let's see. MJ, if it's okay, can we go back to the first, wait lang, that one slide. Sige, go next. There we go, there, that one. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Okay, so the principles, so this is by Keegan. So the principles of Keegan state for learner autonomy state that yes, that we can the learners should be self-paced as it allows learners to continue the learning process even though there are personal and professional things. So I think this was discussed already with a different slide. But these are the principles in which Keegan says, so learning should be self-paced. Number two, it should be individualized so we can use automative actions or adaptive learning. And then number three, the learner should have freedom in the selection of goals and activities. So this is going to be a big part of our upskills development we're going to be discussing later. Okay. So now we go to the question. We go to the question that considering that we have discussed how to promote and encourage learner autonomy for our learning and development programs, what can be the tool in which we can help our learning and development units continue training in the hybrid setup? So here at Cypher Learning, we are proud to say that we have a newly released feature called Skills Development. So MATRIX LMS is an intelligent learning platform, or an ILP, which is the future for L&D training programs. So before we get into the demo, we're going to discuss how an ILP benefits the hybrid workplace to curb the trends which MJ discussed earlier. So firstly, let's see if an ILP can benefit training in the workplace. So number one, skills development allows learners to choose their own goals, as per our discussion for promoting learner autonomy. Number two, skill development allows learners to pursue their courses anytime, anywhere, as it is an integral principle of promoting higher learner autonomy. However, learners are not only on their own, as they can interact with their instructor and other learners while pursuing the material. They determine the interaction between the two parties when needed. Lastly, skills development allows learners to track their progress. So using the progress wheel and the scores feature of the courses in which they are enrolled, they can see how they are progressing to reach their chosen goal and how they can adjust and motivate themselves to further accomplish the course. So we're giving them that space in order for them to continue their learning. As instructors and course developers, or the ones who are delivering the courses and the assessments, where they're still there at the edge with different channels of communication open if they have any questions. So that's basically how the ILP is going to help us promote learner autonomy in our own, in all of our learners. Okay. So as a course developer, since we know that we have many course developers here in our session today, we need to consider the following. Number one, we should align the learning competencies to the content and the activities that we are giving to our learners. Number two, we have to explore and offer a variety of resources to accommodate the different learning styles of the learners. And then number three, let's capitalize on automated actions to promote individualized learning. And we have to make sure that we map them out before we can actually apply them in our courses. Number four, let's consider the different venues and channels of communication for the instructor and the learner to interact and engage with one another. And then lastly, we should engage the learners by utilizing the gamification feature and other interactive learning objects to keep the learners motivated. So if you have any questions about this, please do not hesitate. It's a very interesting topic. So I'm now going to turn you back over to MJ, and then we're going to see how learners can practice a higher learner autonomy using the skills development in MATRIX LMS.
Thank you so much, Judith. Let me just share my screen. All right, I hope everybody can see my screen right now. So I'm logged in our MATRIX LMS portal, and I'm logged in as a learner named Clark Kent. So Clark Kent is an employee and he's currently an accounting specialist. All right, so this is the dashboard of the MATRIX LMS. As you can see, aside from the course that I'm currently taking, there will be an additional widget, which is what we call the goals. So this is where the skills development feature starts. So basically for the skills development, a goal will be set up for either, the goals are actually either assigned to you by your mentor, your manager, or your L&D leader, or it could be something that you are pursuing personally. So basically I am an accounting specialist, and I would like to move forward in my career, and I've chosen to set a goal to senior accounting specialist. So I wanted to become a senior accounting specialist moving forward with my career. And that is the goal that I have chosen, as you can see from here. So by the way, there are two goals that you can set with our skills development. So I'll just very quickly show you. So when I hover on the goals in here, I'll click add. So I've selected the job because I'm aspiring to become a senior accounting specialist. But just in case that there are some competencies that you feel that is very useful for you in terms of your career development and upskilling, you can also set competencies as well as part of your goal. And now moving back in here in the goals widget, as you can see, senior account specialist goal widget is here, and that is one of my active goal. And right next to it is the recommendation, which we will discuss later on when we tackle the recommendations within the goals. So primarily my goal is to pursue senior accounting specialist. So let's click on this goal that I have right now. All right, so technically what you can see is the sets of competencies. So what it means is for me to move forward to a senior accounting specialist, I would have to complete the following skills or concepts for me to be able to move forward with my target goal. There are 52 competencies that I can see in here. And as you can see, it's still blank right now because I just recently added a goal for myself and haven't progressed. And later on, we'll show you what it looks like and when it's already being consumed and progress, or the goal progress later on. So you can see the data points in here and the rating. Right now it's still blank, but that is how you can measure if you are achieving or targeting your competencies. So right next to the summary, we're on the summary right now. Right next to the summary are the details. So here, it will give you like a brief overview of how you can get that data points. So what are the things that you need to complete to be able to be assessed and get the points and measure your competency with the following competencies that you are targeting as a senior accounting specialist. Also on the right-hand side, you will see there that you have your progress wheel, and it will show you how are you doing or progressing within the goals. We also have the recommendations, just the same recommendations that you've seen outside earlier in the dashboard. So aside from that, we have remove goal and pause goal. So we wanted it to be more personalized and flexible. So with the skills development, you can either change, if, for example, you're leaning towards a senior accounting specialist, and during the course of that action, you feel that this is not something for you, and you have a change of mind or a change of heart, and you would like to move forward to a different goal, that is okay. You can remove the goal and set a different job title for yourself. So say, for example, you're leaning towards marketing instead of accounting specialist. So you can add that remove the particular goal in here and add a new one. And you can also pause your goal. So for example, you're still interested in completing those competencies. It's just that you have like a bigger project going on or personal issues or concerns. So you can pause it temporarily and then resume it once you're ready to take in the goal again. So when it's paused, so the recommendations will stop, and then you can resume it once again once you're ready to take and get back on track on fulfilling your goal as or your career advancement with regards to the skills and development that you are aiming for. All right, so on the left-hand side here, we have talked about the recommendations. So as you can see, there are sets of competencies that you need to target. And the good thing about our system is that it will already detect what are the competencies that you have mastered from previous, maybe from previous courses that you have taken, and what you haven't mastered yet. And from there, it will give you recommendations that will help you target your goal in completing those competencies, those 52 competencies that you have seen. So these are the recommendations that you can see. So it can recommend some courses or classes that you might need to take to advance in those particular competencies. And then you can also be recommended with resources. And also one special thing is a group as well. So since we encourage collaboration as well, so you can be a part of a group with the same goal and competencies that they are targeting, and then you can share ideas and maybe you can get some insights and input from those particular groups that has been recommended for you. So if you are happy with one of these courses, to take one of these courses, all you have to do is just go to a particular course or class, and then you can enroll directly, and it will be part of your goal action to finish that particular course, to hit the target of your competencies. So let's just go back. So another thing that's really good is the Q&A forum. So we also have a Q&A forum, and this one would help you in terms of, so the Q&A forum is more like a learning circle. So basically you can post your questions. So you have like a community of people or peers with the same goal or with a common goal that you are reaching. So this particular Q&A forum is good for those who are targeting to become like senior accounting specialists as well. So you can share your idea, you can post your questions, and you can even answer and help other members of this particular competencies to move forward achieving their goal. So basically, that's how it looks like in a perspective of a learner that hasn't started the goal yet. So this is just the beginner part of the skills development. So Judith will be showing you what it looks like to someone who's already progressing with regards to their goals as well. So I'll just stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, MJ. So my screen is currently shared. So if MJ was Clark Kent, I am now Chandler Bing. And Chandler Bing has already achieved 82% mastery to develop the competencies to become a senior accounting specialist. Okay, so he's currently at 82% based from the 3 courses that he has completed. So he has already completed the course accounting technician, and then he's currently enrolled in these 2 courses, which is Office 365 and then Customer Service Basics. So as you can see, when we go back to the concept of having learners regulate their learning and being motivated by making sure that they achieve their goals, they can see that they are progressing in their not only in their individual courses, and they have completed it already after enrolling into the courses that help them achieve the goal, but also they will see how much of they have mastered. So with a learner who is currently doing this, as you can see, once they start going through the competencies and the courses with all the content and the assessments, you're going to see that they are going to be achieving it, and you'll see it color coded. So for example, Chandler Bing is struggling with the awareness of business trends. So probably he's going to go back, he'll go through some courses, he'll go through some content, he can ask for more help, facilitation from a supervisor or from the instructor in order to get more of an idea of the business trends that he needs to know to make sure that he fulfills the competencies of the job title. Okay, so going back, so if you did enroll, so if a learner does enroll in a course using the goals or using the goals, when they go in, we'll see that they can still pursue the course as a regular learner. So they enroll, they'll go through the assessments, they'll go through the s- they'll go through the content, and then they can also track themselves. So again, when we say that we want our learners to become to achieve a higher learner autonomy and through self-regulation, we can see that currently here in the customer service basics, their mastery is still 0, but their progress is 25. So having these kinds of progress wheels is very, very good for to encourage the development of learner autonomy. So I'm going to turn it over back to MJ for the last part of our demo, which will show how an instructor can use the analytics and competencies to track how the learners are doing. Okay.
All right, thanks, Judith. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, so now I'm logged in as an instructor as of the moment. So as you can see, for learner autonomy to develop, it doesn't necessarily mean that the instructor will not do anything at all. So basically, your instructor's role will still be part or essential in the learner's journey. It's just that the focus will change from the instructor focus to a learner focus. So as you can see, you can always check the progress, the progress of your learners, so that you can support them and mentor them as to how they can achieve their goals moving forward. So for example, I'm a trainer or an instructor for a specific course or course that has the competencies that the learner needs. So I'll click on the accounting technician, which is the one that I'm teaching right now. So you can always check the progress of your learners with the courses that you are teaching. So I'll go to the Learners tab. So you can see their individual progress in here. All right, you can see the progress in here, the scores, the grades, and of course the mastery feature. You also have access to their scores. So primarily grades and scores do not really tell you specific, what are the specific concepts that the learners are having problems, because with the scores, it's just giving you the score that they take, that they have for that particular activity, but it doesn't necessarily show you what are the things that are missing or what are the concepts that they need to master. So that's when you go to the mastery feature, or the competency-based learning happens. So this is where you can define all the competencies that you wanted your learner to achieve. And then when I go to the learners here, this is where you can track their progress, all of your learners' progress individually. As you can see, it's color-coded, and it's easy for you to target who are falling behind and who are excelling in terms of particular proficiencies that you have already set up. So for this proficiency, as you can see, some of them haven't started for this proficiency as well. There's one who's falling behind. And what you can do to support your learner as well is to use our automated feature to develop that more personalized learning for their journey as well, to support their learning journey as well. So basically, you can do that by setting up rules and automation for each of the competency that you have set. So this will give you additional support for your learners. So I'll just go to the rules. I've already set some automated action just to save up some time. So for example, okay, I have this competency. I have set a triggered action that if they get less than or equal to 60% for the next succeeding 5 days, they haven't been targeting that competency, then I would add an action. And the action that I've set is hide assessment to activity 2. So basically, I don't want the learner to feel overwhelmed of answering an assessment that is much more advanced than the current skill that he currently have. But of course, you also have other actions that you can add. You can add more than one actions with regards to setting rules and automations for your competency. So for example, the one that I have an example is assessment, hiding assessment. You can also show a particular lesson. So if, for example, you wanted to assist them to learn more about a specific competencies that they're having difficulty, you can show like an additional lesson that will support the understanding financial transaction here, the competency that they're taking, that will support them in moving forward with this particular competency. Or perhaps add them in a group wherein there are some experts on that group that they can interact with, ask questions or ask suggestions how to move forward with a particular goal. Another way, or very simple one, perhaps as a teacher or instructor, you can just send custom notification just to notify, hey, I've seen that you haven't been targeting this particular competency. Is there additional help that you would like? You can send that custom notification to your learner as well. And also, of course, those that are excelling, we don't want to forget to give them a tap on the back. So there's one more example that I've set in here, which is for those learners who are excelling. You can also personalize it to make them feel that they're really doing well. So I've added, if for those who are receiving greater than or equal to 70% in the last succeeding 5 days of taking this particular course, then I will award a badge for them. So because this is a gamified course, I've awarded a badge. But you can also set other actions. So you can also, aside from awarding badge, you can award points. You can also show a lesson that's much more advanced that will empower them to learn more, aside from the one that they've already mastered, which is they've been mastering that particular competency. You can also add them to, just like with what I've shown with those that are falling behind. You can also add them to a group, like much more advanced group, so that they can interact with the same level of group of learners, that they can share their knowledge and ideas as well. And another thing is you can tag them as an advanced learner as well. You can do a lot of things in terms of this. It depends on how you would like to personalize the learning journey of your learners in terms of their competency. So basically, with regards to this, the instructor still engage when learner autonomy happens. So a significant part of the instructor would be their role is to observe and for you to guide and to mentor and to coach and evaluate your learners, so to support them reaching their learning journey. So you're not really letting go of their hands, but you're just guiding them along the way as they walk through their own learning journey. All right. So now it's time for us to do the Q&A. Let me share this and stop sharing my screen. Okay, let's check the question and answers that has been provided. Sorry, checking.
Okay, well, MJ is checking that. So we'll do the first one. So there's a question here. So how can learners monitor their goals and be reliant to work as they are encountering the hybrid workplace? So as MJ and I mentioned in the first part of the session, we know that there are benefits to having the hybrid workplace. However, we also have to make sure that we're also managing it. So there might be certain policies in which your L&D unit might have in order to get that balance of training, work, and also that personal time. That's why when we say learner autonomy, uh, we're giving that we're giving the learners that opportunity to pursue it or pursue these courses on their own time, have their own journeys, learning journeys, learning experiences using an ILP. They set their own goals, they pursue their own content or the content that you provide for them. And then when they're ready to have like a promotion or they're ready to do more jobs and all of that, as managers and supervisors, we're also able to guide our learners to the next level, to set goals for the next level. So I hope that MJ, do you have anything to add to that
Yes, I
question?
agree. No, I agree with that one. So I'd like to address the question of Sir Albert. In the example, the Clark Kent has acquired 52 competencies. Yes, I agree. That's too much, right? So this is just a demo course. But of course, the competency, it could be 52, it could be more, it could be less. It depends on how it was set up by the manager or the course creator or the administrator, because it depends on school to school, or not really school to school, or organizations to organization. Each organizations have their own sets of competencies per role that they are offering within the organization or their businesses. So it depends. So if they're targeting like 10 competencies for you to move up to that particular career goal, or just a particular skill that you need to master, it will depend on them. So right now, the example of the 52 is just like a dummy example of competency. So basically what I'm trying to say is the competency would depend on what are the competencies that are being set, or the proficiencies and concepts that are being set based on the organization. So it's organization per organization as to how they measure the competency. It could be that they're following a particular guideline, like here in Australia, we do have particular guidelines for competency depending on the skills that you would like to be certified on, or it could be just within the organization or within the company that you're working on. So that's it. So I hope that helps.
To add to what MJ said, we do know that in L&D units, curriculum mapping is also a very important part, no, competency mapping. And for those units and these corporations and businesses who are ready to go to that level of not only adopting an LMS or an ILP for their or for your own organizations, at least now we're taking it to the next level, and we're going to really try to we're making sure that we're developing these skill sets of our employees. I don't want to say just for the efficiency of it all, but definitely to help them in their professional growth as well. We still want to encourage lifelong learning, and I think the ILP really helps with that. And it encourages, again, at the end of it all, instead of going back to a brick and mortar institution or just simply shifting online, we now have learners who can pursue their own things by themselves. Okay. So this is also related to our third question by Sir
Mhm.
Bobby again. So, is there a guide in making updating competencies, automated system that will scientifically enumerate the competencies for a particular position? So yes, again, once you start adopting Matrix LMS for your own L&D program, your own L&D unit, again, a lot of curriculum mapping is going to go on. Your course developers are going to get involved. Your instructors are going to get involved. So it's really like a systems. Your management is going to be like it's going to be like systematic. And then I'm also going to call one of our colleagues here to help answer this third question. Miss Andrea is here with us. Hi, Miss Andrea. If you would like to unmute or if you're going to type in your answer. Okay. So while maybe we're waiting for that, um, let's see. While we're waiting for Andrea to respond, we have other questions here. I'm gonna shoot it back to MJ if it's okay. Another question is here is it still a good practice to ask quotes, what do you want to learn and why when we practice learner autonomy?
All right, it's okay. So for that one, yes, the instructors are or trainers. You become the guide of the learners or students. So I believe that it's still it's a yes, because you still need to know what are the goals that they are targeting. You still need to know what their learning journeys are for you to be able to support them and mentor them correctly. Because if you don't know what they really want or what they're targeting, what the goals they're looking at, or what are their target skills, then you won't be able to enhance or support what they are trying to achieve moving forward. So it's still a yes. So you can still, it's still okay to ask what you want to learn, because it's just like what I said, your teachers or instructors will still be there to hold your hand as you go through along your learning journey as well. So basically, they can still be your support system.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. Here's
All right.
another question. The common challenge is for learners to find motivation in self-paced learning, which is a very valid point. Even in adults, that's something that how do we get our learners to continue, pursuing their training and their modules and the like, even if they do have that, they have work. What is a suggestion to ignite motivation in the learners, even using Matrix LMS? I have
Okay.
one. So we do have gamification.
Yeah.
We have a gamification here in Matrix LMS. So instructors, course developers, they can utilize the gamification features, giving rewarding badges, as MJ showed earlier, rewarding points and the like, mapping out the milestones of to to reach or to achieve certain competencies or certain scores. That is a great way to motivate learners, even in a self-paced setting. MJ, do you want to add anything to that?
So other than that, when that is when learning autonomy comes in handy, because the more hands-on the learners are in their learning, the more motivated they will, motivation will come in naturally. So you can give learners a say as well in some aspects of the course. So give them like a sense of control in terms of, we do have like some features like wiki and blog, so they can offer like informations or share their knowledge and ideas about the course using the wiki and blogs as well. And of course, in terms of engagement, aside from gamification, you can add some discussion forums and debates so that you can engage more activity from the learner itself, giving out their ideas into certain or particular topics that is of interest to the learners.
Ah,
All right.
okay. Thanks, MJ, for that.
Okay.
We have another question here. So how do we establish collaboration in learner autonomy or to develop learner autonomy? Are there certain features in Matrix LMS that can help with that?
All right. So it's a little bit related to the first one. So with the several features, there are several features that you can use with Matrix LMS. specifically in terms of collaboration, just like what I've mentioned, we do have team assessments. We do have discussion forum as well. With regards to team assessment, it helps in building or in developing teamwork within a course or within a specific. You can also use groups and teams that is separate from the courses that you're taking. So it helps you build that particular collaboration with other peers within your organization as well that has the same or common goals that you currently have. So say, for example, you can join a group for finance accounting, and you can share ideas on that one. Also, with regards to the course, we also have, just like what I mentioned, Wikipage and blogs, and at the same time, we support the team assessments that I've mentioned earlier. So for the team assessment, the instructors can group the learners per team, and then they can each one they are accountable for each of their team members in creating a much more collaborative work and cohesion as well in terms of the way that they do the activities together. Aside from that, within the skills goals, you remember there's a Q&A forum as well within the goals that you're taking. That's part of collaboration as well. Sharing your ideas and experience and how you can master or how you can achieve a particular competency is also a valid collaboration tool that we currently have with regards to with MATRIX LMS feature. That helps with learner autonomy as well.
Thanks, MJ. I don't have anything to add to that. I think she answered it really well. So we have two more questions left here. The second to the last one is, what are some tips for creating content for to promote autonomous learning? Again, as we mentioned earlier, number one, we should be very clear with the goals that we intend our learners to set, because these goals are what the learners are going to be choosing at the end of the day, um, what they want to achieve after a certain amount of time once they pursue all of the self-paced courses. Another tip would be to present a variety of resources and activities. These would be very important for the different kinds of learners. So we have, different kinds of learners, such as visual learners. We have auditory learners. We have kinesthetic learners, and having a range of activities in which they will be able to fulfill by themselves. If they're given a choice, that's something that we can capitalize on. Lastly, never forget to um, always have a channel open to address what the learner's needs are. Yes, we are promoting learner autonomy within your organizations, but that doesn't mean that instructor is going to be out of the job. The instructor is definitely going to be in dialogue, in contact with these learners, so they can also facilitate any misconceptions about the knowledge or the concepts that that you are discussing, and the skills that they need to address. So those are some of the tips that we can get. And number 5, how fast is it to implement skills development feature? If, say, for example, the industry is automotive, is there any difference? To be honest, this is like a yes or no, a yes and no answer. If we go back to how we answered the first two questions of our Q&A session, we have to go to what is our system that we are utilizing here in your organizations. So you have your managers, you have your supervisors, you have your course developers, you have your instructors. And then, of course, you're going to be mapping out your competencies for the different job titles in which you are training we're training our learners for. So it depends on how long we can map out the competencies and how long we can map out these job titles and how long the course development is going to be taking. Then we also have to consider individualized learning, the self-paced courses, or we're going to do micro learning in order to develop the learners' skill sets. So it will depend on the pace, on how each organization does manage their L&D setup. But by all means, Matrix LMS is very easy to use, and we hope that we're going to be involved, or we can help you in the setting up of your skills development for those who are interested. Now, to address the question from Sir Bobby again, So we have here our Global EdTech Director, Ms. Jen Padernal, and she's going to be helping us answer this question. Just to remind everyone, is there a guide in making or updating competencies, perhaps an automated system that will scientifically enumerate the competencies for a particular position? And just for the context, from Sir Bobby, job description. So yung mga job description po, yung ano, yung parang sinasabi ko yung scientifically enumerate, Ma'am
Mm.
Jen. So hi, Ma'am Jen.
Hello, everybody. That
Hi,
question is kind
everyone.
of like a really good question.
Yes.
Nakakatawa yung scientifically enumerate, no? But siguro before we address that question, we want to understand what you meant by scientifically enumerate and a guide is it a guide on how you can upload or configure the competencies within the platform and then compute it afterwards? Because there are two things there. One is you're asking about scientifically enumerating the competencies, and one is guide on what's that again? Guide on what, Judith?
Guide. Oh, is there a guide in making or updating the competencies on
Yeah, so one is
matrices?
guide in making and updating. So, but by with that, do we mean updating it within the platform, or a guide on associating your competencies with your content and with your assessments? Because that's kind of
So,
like a very general, very broad kind of questions. Something
so
that's
ma'am,
automated.
yeah. This is
Mhm.
what Sir Bobby, though, so additional input for that question. So what he's asking is if we can input like a job description, and then all of
Yes.
with the job description, all of the competencies that are part of this job description or this title or this job title, will learners or users be able to see those competencies? That's what he was trying to
So,
address in his question.
so one is yes, the learner will be able to see the competencies. Second is when you look at the job description and you want to generate competencies in the job description, that will be a part that they will have to do. It's because I think what they were trying to ask is that I have a full job description here.
Mhm.
I'll put it in the system, and the system generates competencies
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have that capability. That would probably need an AI to do that, right? But the way that you create competencies, which is based on roles and skills and based on job description, that's the L&D part, or that's the part of that's the part that the instructor or the L&D would have to do, because
Mhm.
you will determine the competencies. Is it based on especially if it's based on job roles, so you develop the competencies from there. And then what can be automated is that when you already have the competencies drawn from your from the job description, there's a way by which those competencies can be uploaded in the system, uh, via bulk upload, or either you do it manually. And then the system will allow you to choose options on how you can calculate this competency. So we have different options for that. One is decaying average. We have best competencies or most recent competencies. Then you'll also have the capability to map it like um, the ranking. So it depends on what you're using in your institution or your organization. What's your measure of a good or excellent competency? What's fair? What's poor? And what needs improvement? So you get to configure that. And then what the system will do is automatically compute that for you or calculate that for you based on your selected options, right? So that's what the system will do. But in terms of like I have an entire list, I have a job description, I'll put it in the system, and the system will just do it for me and develop like the list of competencies out of that job description. So that's not what the system is doing, because the competencies are um, being decided and configured and designed by your group of trainers or your
Mhm.
group of experts.
Yeah.
So for example, your L&D department, they're the ones who will develop that competencies
Yeah.
based on the job description. and then you put it in Matrix LMS. So Matrix LMS, what Matrix LMS will automate for you will be the calculation based on what's already built in, because we have built-in calculations already. So you can choose from there. You can choose from that area. That makes sense?
Thanks, Ma'am Jen. I hope Sir Bobby, he's still here. I hope that you were able, I hope that answered your question, Sir Bobby. Ma'am Jen, thank you so much. So I think we can bring our webinar for this afternoon to a close.
Mhm.
If there are no more questions from our audience. Thank you so much for attending. I hope that this was very informative and fruitful for everyone. MJ?
Thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope, yeah, just like what Judith mentioned, it gives you an idea of how our skills development would work, and I hope that there are some use case scenarios already running in your mind and how to use it. And if you're really interested in more in terms of configuration, you can always contact us with in our website as well to learn more about the skills development. Thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Good afternoon.